Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever your time you're listening to this podcast. I greatly appreciate it. You're tuned into the Equinox podcast, and I am your host, A.L. Knox. This week we got a couple of interesting topics to talk about here. Basically how this podcast works is people submit me questions, and I answer the questions and such. And we've got a lot of interesting questions this week, and we'll go ahead and get right into it. First question was, a listener submitted me this question, and the question was, what are your thoughts on the opioid epidemic? Well, I did some research on this particular question before I answered it, and I learned that there's a difference between opioids and opiates. Opioids are drugs that are used with one of them is synthetic, the other one is real, and the opioids are made with like real derivatives of poppy plants and such. But nonetheless, both of them are catastrophic as far as what's happening in the United States of America, because a lot of people out here are dying because of these particular type of drugs. And to make matters worse, we have other countries that are making synthetic opioids and are sneaking them into the United States, i.e. China. They're making fentanyl by the billions of pounds and is bringing it to the United States, and people are taking these particular types of drugs and they are dying. I don't have the current number of how many people are dying from opioids every day, but if memory serves me right, it is, in my professional opinion, catastrophic numbers. I personally know a guy who his mother is on these opioids, and he's concerned about her health because he feels like any day now she can overdose on these particular type of drugs, and which is a reality, and it's messing with his mind a lot. As I can empathize with him, because if that was my mother or my family members on opioids, thank God none of them are, then I would be very concerned about their health too. But there's only so much you can do. You can't control people, but you can influence people. My apologies if you heard that in the background. There's a plane in the background there. But yes, and people take these drugs because, one, the pharmaceutical medical industry that we're surrounded with right now prescribe these drugs like candy to people. I learned that these opioids are... I came across an interesting article saying that blacks in the United States of America are administered these drugs at a far less percentage than their counterparts. And I don't know the reasons why they're far less administered to black people, but it's like the amount of opioids that's being like administered to people every day is ridiculous. It's that you go to the hospital, they ask you questions. Are you feeling depressed? How do you feel about life? Are you currently going through physical pain? Is there anybody in your family that has any type of diseases? And if you answer yes to any of these various questions, they give you a bottle of pills like it's candy and such. And I really feel like it is a way to keep people mentally, psychologically, and physically controlled, and dumbing them down too. But people are taking these pills because they actually are in pain, or they may be going through some mental issues, whatnot, because of the economy and whatnot. And so for most cases, people are getting taken advantage of because of these opioids and such. Alright, so moving on to the second question. Another subscriber has submitted me this question, Has Disney been good for Star Wars? Wow. You're just really opening up a big can of worms here. And to be honest, I have not seen episodes 7, and I believe the latest one is episode 8, but I may have that wrong. But I know the characters in the story. You have Rey, she's a Jedi. You have the Sith Lord, who is the son of dang, I'm drawing a blank here. I know right now y'all are probably like screaming at me like the names of these people. Okay, so you have the Sith Lord who's the son of Han Solo and Luke's sister. But her name slips me. But it'll come back like probably like in 45 seconds. And you have a black guy in there, as a former stormtrooper. I think he can control the Force. I'm not sure. And what have you. People have been giving mixed reviews about these latest Star Wars movies. I saw a couple clips of I think it was episode 6 or 7. Basically, Rey and the Sith Lord are quote unquote captured by another Sith Lord that looks like something of a Lord Sidious creation somewhat, and the two work together to kill this Sith Lord. And the story does not impress me. The action sequences don't impress me. Though, I did find the action sequence against Luke versus, I don't know his name, but the Sith Lord, interesting how Luke, his force is so great that he used a projection of himself, astral projection maybe, that's what that was. And he made it seem like he was really there. And I found that really interesting. But Star Wars was a lot better before Disney co-opted it. Episodes 1, 2, and 3 are sheer proof of that. Those were good movies. And they did a good writing for those movies as well. The choice of actors that they chose were fantastic. And it was really great. I loved them. I don't think I've seen all of them in full detail, episode 1, 2, and 3. I don't think I've seen all of episode 1, The Phantom Menace, or all of episode 2, but I have seen all of episode 3. And I found it really interesting, the whole concept of lightsabers and the Force and such. What I really enjoyed was the animation of Star Wars or Clone Wars. From there, they could really display the true Jedi's abilities, from their leg strength of how fast they can run, and the psychic abilities that they could do, which is called the Force, and their lightsabers and how high they can jump and stuff. And their combat speed and reaction time was fantastic. And if they could take that from the animation and put it in the movie, I think that'd be pretty cool. But people want to argue the fact of making things look realistic, the realism of holding a lightsaber. Looks like a lightsaber weighs about, I don't know, like 15 pounds. So it's well like the weight of a katana of some sort. But at the same time, we're dealing with most would argue a fictitious element called the Force. So it's like trying to take Spider-Man and make him like realistic. No, it's the radioactive spiders bit him, so he's really agile now. He can pick up small cars and such, and climb walls. You just gotta roll with what's been created, and it's for the best. Maybe they said this is the last Star Wars movie. This one, the next one coming up of some sort, but I doubt it. And was it J.J. Abrams who's directed this? I'm surprised on Well, I'm surprised on what he's done here because he did Star Trek pretty well, but all movies are not created equal. Moving on to the next question: is Alex Jones crazy or is he a comedian? I think that Alex Jones is a bit misunderstood, but I also think that he's crazy as well, and I also find him funny too. There's moments where people take off Alex Jones and then he like spazzes out, which is normal for any human, any person really. We all have our breaking points and whatnot, but I really haven't been following Alex Jones too closely ever since his YouTube channel got pulled. But I think that he's controlled opposition. That's just my opinion. He would present interesting information, but I think the information that he would present would be a form of social engineering or things that just keep us busy. Like, I think that he was trying to present himself as a character that was for the people that was like grassroots or underground, like pulling information from underground, if you will, and presenting it to the people, like fighting against big government or the big machine and whatnot. But I think he was just a small cog in the machine itself, just to keep that niche or group of people distracted and thinking that they're on a cutting edge of information and whatnot. You will know if you're on the cutting edge of information or you were really like progressing in some type of movement if A, your life's in danger, and B, you die. So Alex Jones, he says some interesting things, but I wouldn't really well, that's the thing about intelligence, is that you entertain things, but you don't necessarily believe everything that you hear. So while his information is entertaining, and I do look into some of the stuff that he says, he has his message is a bit mixed, in my opinion. And wasn't it not too long ago he went to court and his lawyer was defending him, telling people that, oh, Alex Jones is a character that he portrays, or maybe he said that himself. I'm trying to remember which was the case, but that was said that, oh, the character that he portrays on his show, what was it called again? Secret Wars? I forget, but that's a character that he portrayed. Did I say portray? No, it's a character that he portrays. Excuse me. Yeah, I said betray, I think like 3 times. Yeah, but it's a character that he portrays, and there you have it. Not trying to discredit the dude. If he wants to do more of what he does, and what he does, he's really good at doing it. But I'm no follower of his. The next question is another interesting question. Is death in battle a good way to die? Perhaps. Depends on how you die in battle. There's different ways to die, of course. I think there's a TV show dedicated to 1,000 ways you could die. Death in battle, an honorable death is, in my opinion, a good death. Fighting for something that you believe in, and you die fighting for it. Creates new seeds of rebellion, or rather creates new seeds of people who want to fight for your cause. So death in battle, in most cases, is a good way to die. I suppose in some bad cases is that you are captured as a slave and you're fighting to the death, and you were a coward while fighting, and you just allow people to kill you, just give up, and you just allow them to kill you. That's not a good way to go. I suppose another example of death in battle, which is a bad way to die, is fighting against the police, and while maybe you may have been fighting back against the police for some type of good type of reason, and they end up killing you, the media is just going to spin it and make you just the worst guy possible on the planet for fighting against the police, and then people will co-sign saying the police did a good job of defending themselves. They have a family to go back to themselves, and did a good job of killing this guy. All he had to do was just listen. If he would just listen to the police, he wouldn't have died. But everything is not always black and white. That's funny. So in this question here, circling back, is death in battle a good way to die? In some cases, yes. So I'm not sure what's going on in this person's mind why they would submit this type of question. Hopefully maybe they're a soldier, I don't know. It's a very interesting question though. I would say, to move forward with it, how would I like to die? I would like to die having sex. Like a girl on top of me, riding me of some sort, and I just bust the biggest nut ever, and I just die. But that's a lot to put on her, because other people will find out, and men will be like, ooh, I don't want to hit that. Like, she got a body on her. And, rightfully so, unfortunately. But moving on to the next question. This question here is interesting. Question number 5 is Coke or Pepsi? The answer is Pepsi. Pepsi all the way. I prefer Pepsi over Coke. I like how it tastes. I like the fizzy bubbles in my mouth. The carbonation. It's delicious. However, I don't drink either one of these beverages. I used to drink Coca-Cola. I used to drink cola. But I stopped drinking. I cut back on sodas like 13 years ago. I'm older than I sound. Well, yeah, I cut back on sodas 13 years ago. So I drink Sprite, and I drink ginger ale, and I'll drink some Italian sodas. But other than that, I just stopped drinking soda. It's not something. Well, back when I was drinking a lot of soda, it would make me break out a lot. So that's why, thinking back, that's why I stopped. But back when I was drinking it, I would definitely prefer Pepsi the most. There's another cola that I like that's, it has a K in it. I'm trying to remember the name of this cola. Memory slips me on this too. But I like that cola even more than Pepsi or Coca-Cola. Alright, moving on. The next question is the Catholic Church a scam? Wow. A question that deals with religion. I tend not to tread on people's religions and whatnot. I mean, me, myself, I was born Christian, raised Baptist. As the time progressed, I decided to be a Universalist. And I acknowledge all 13 main religions, and I respect all religions. I wouldn't say that the Catholic Church is a scam, though. I mean, sure, you have people in there, regular people, human beings, that make mistakes. They get caught up in scandals and whatnot. This happens in any major religion, or pagan religion, if you will. I actually went to Catholic Church, I think 2-3 weeks ago, and I found the whole ceremony very interesting. Very fancy. I found it very interesting myself. I mean, I've been to a lot of different places. I've been to a mosque, and Protestant, Baptist, Catholic, Universalist. I've been to ancient Egypt religions. The West African religions. I've explored around, and I've learned that it's people's ego that wraps around whatever they specialize in are really good at, one's ego will wrap around that particular subject matter, and in some cases it will prevent you from expanding forward into other different subject matters because you feel like you know all there is to know about that subject matter, thus you become stagnant. But circling back to Catholic Church's scam, I mean, yes and no. All religions practice some type of form of hypnotism, which makes the user believe in a set of doctrines or creation story or how things work in the spiritual realm and the physical world. And hypnotism is not a negative thing to say. It's just a set of programming, and people will fight and die for this type of thing, which I think is a good thing because you need something to believe in, and without a set of rules and whatnot, people will just run around in chaos and start just killing people and sodomy and all kind of wickedness. So to have this structure in place is a good thing for society because without it, we would be quite wild. I do think there's room for the Catholic Church to evolve, though I like their old traditions. I like them a lot, but there's always room for anything to evolve, for almost anything to evolve. And the Catholic Church could, I think, will evolve in the future as well. But the ceremony I went to was really beautiful. And while I am not a devout Catholic, because I'm not Catholic at all, I don't really see any qualms with what's going on with their structure. But then again, I'm not too well versed in it. But people could probably point out, well, we had the Christian Crusades and they killed lots of people and they converted like different groups of natives to the Christian religion. And while I would say that is true, this is just part of life. If you could look back in history, you will always see these type of things happening. One old religion or form of spirituality, way of life was pushed aside and a new one comes in, either just by natural things or just by force. A new armies come in and they've taken your old religion and turned those characters into evil villains and brought in a new god and whatnot. These things just happen. Next question. The greatest empire in history. Well, it depends how far back we go in history or what we know as history. I think we just, from what most people know, history can go back like 6,000 years, 8,000, well, depending on it. Some historians say that ancient Egypt goes back like 19,000 years and whatnot. The greatest empire in history, I don't know what's the greatest empire in history. We've had some pretty strong ones come out of China, and we had some pretty strong empires come out of Africa. We had some strong ones come out of Central South America. The Roman Empire was a pretty strong empire as well. I don't know who's the greatest empire in history, from what we know. Based off of architecture, I can't forget about East India. They had a pretty strong empire too. From Ethiopia connecting to East India, that was a strong empire. But my favorite, based off of architecture and spirituality, religion, and like choice of dress, I don't know actually. I could pick one, but then I could find the flaws in it that I wouldn't agree with because I live in a more modern age. But I like Ethiopian, I like East Indian, I like Egypt, I like Aztec, I like Inca, I like the Olmec, I like Celtic. I like Greek. I like Chinese. Um, so I like all those. Um, but I guess the greatest empire in history is I don't know. Maybe right now we're living in the greatest empire, but then again, if one does proper research, they'll find that there are pyramids and or mounds on each landmass in every country. Some have been covered up, some are still there. In fact, the majority of pyramids and or mounds in the United States are located in Ohio, the state of Ohio. What does this tell you? This tells you that there was some type of ancient system happening back in the day where everybody knew to create these things, and they created some type of link between all land masses, some type of mathematical link or whatnot. We found out that in Egypt, the pyramids are more than what they look like on top. Below it, there's like an aqueduct system of water flowing through it for some specific reason, maybe for like to generate power or whatnot. But there's a pyramid actually above ground, and there's a pyramid below ground, which makes like a 3D diamond, if you will. So I found these things really interesting. I like Aztec and Incas like choice of dress, like their headdress. I find that very interesting. I'm not a big proponent of them sacrificing people, though. Moving on, what is the afterlife? What is the afterlife like? Well, I've yet to go there. I don't know what it's like based off of what other people say. Like one guy who made a trip to hell and described the 7 layers of hell. I forget his name. And various other people who have died for a short time period and came back to life. Apparently when you die, you were surrounded by darkness. And it is scary at first, but then you feel at ease, you feel calm. And then the spirits or God is right near you, and they try to guide you to the next realm of where you will go, because matter is not destroyed, it is transformed. I think some French scientists have conducted a test of somebody dying, and they measured like the weight of somebody before and after they died, and after they died they lost a few grams in weight, and they presume, or they feel like they lost some weight because the soul left the body. So what do I think the afterlife is like? I feel like you die, you were surrounded in darkness, your life is presented to you in a 360 format from when you were first born to the period that you died, showing everything that you did. And from there, you make a decision of what realm you want to go to next. Do I believe in reincarnation? Actually, yes, I do. So I feel like from there, a person can choose to be reincarnated, come back to the earth, or they can choose to go to heaven. But do I believe in hell? Actually, yes, I do believe in hell. I do feel like there is a realm under this one where it is a lot of chaos and turmoil happening. But I feel like people can leave that place. My views are not so much of God has outcasted you to this realm forever and ever. True, it is a realm of despair, and it is a harsh realm, but one can learn from this environment, become enlightened, and ascend to a different plane of existence, if you will. I can get into that a lot, talk about the afterlife, but I'm trying to answer these questions brief and whatnot. Next question, George Michaels or Morrissey? Well, I would have to say Morrissey. Next question, cats or dogs? I like both, really. I like cats and dogs. I like black cats. I like gray cats, all gray cat, and I like all white cats. As far as dogs, I like terriers, I like retrievers, I like huskies and such. I like both of them, really. But if I were to, I don't have any pets at the moment, but if I were to choose my next companion, it'd probably be a dog. And depending on where I'm living in the world, if I'm living in a cold environment, it'll be a husky. And if it's not a cold environment, it'll probably be a terrier or retriever. But I love cats. I love cats a lot. I think cats symbolize a lot of things. And there's a challenge to having a cat in your house. Because I feel like cats are like sacred, if you will. You just can't order them around and make them do things. They need to be respected to a certain level that you can create a bond with your pet, if you will. So that's my opinion on dogs and cats. And that concludes today's episode of the podcast of the Equinox Podcast. Again, I'm your host, A.L. Knox. Stay tuned for next week's episode. I look forward to talking with you guys very soon. Peace, love, light, all that good stuff. God bless your family. God bless America.